Hi, Stephanie. I'm so excited that you are here today,
So,
and that everyone can get to know you more and hear your story and learn more about your art. And also, we are going to be talking about along the lines of creativity as empowerment and finding your voice and coming out of your shell. But we never know what else might come up in the conversation. So I really look forward to that. Before I invite you in, Stephanie. Stephanie is a multidisciplinary artist and creative. We met online on Instagram actually, and had many conversations so far, and I was really drawn to her art because I feel it's very meaningful, it's very powerful and deep, and then Stephanie is a very sensitive, like in a good way, a highly sensitive person. You really enjoy to be in her presence. So yeah, I'm really excited that you're here today, Stephanie, and yeah, welcome.
thank you for your kind words.
Of course. So you are in Berkeley, right? Berkshire, UK.
Okay, yes.
um, Actually, from your words, tell us a little bit more about what you do.
Well, I have past few years I have been trying to establish myself as an artist, and actually call myself an artist, which has been a real struggle because I suppose imposter syndrome and all that sort of thing has taken over. But I am trying to lean into it more and more. I always have been a creative and been a creative person, so it just makes sense to me right now.
Yes, we had that conversation about you felt like creativity was what was always existing, and somehow it was so close, but it's only recently, what is it, in the last 2 years that you've really embraced being an artist? Is that right?
Yeah, I would say that, and maybe a little bit longer, but just trying to not silence that creativity. I mean, I always go with it and create, but living a more creative life mindfully, just allowing it. I think that's very much me in lots of ways.
Tell me more about being an artist more mindfully. I love that.
Well, I think if you deny it, which I have been doing to a certain extent for a long time, you just become really unhappy and you feel unfulfilled. And in a way, it feels like it's meant to be. It feels like that. I don't know. You get that warm feeling inside that that something's good, and that's what it feels like. And stepping into living it more mindfully, it transforms the way you live, firstly, but just on a basic level. I mean, applying makeup or arranging food on a plate, that sort of thing can be really creative, whereas you don't see it as creativity.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. And in terms of before, I'm now curious about what was the difference before you were creating art mindfully, or being an artist in a more mindful way, to before. What's the difference?
It had to, most of the time it had to have a purpose. The creativity had to have a purpose. Like I've arranged flowers for friends' weddings, and my sister's wedding, you know, writing poetry for a wedding and a funeral. You know, it had a purpose. It had sort of credibility in others' eyes as well. You know, it was needed by somebody, whereas not necessarily arranging food on a plate creatively is going to be well received. It just gives you that I'm getting a bit lost.
No worries. Yes, what I'm also getting from what you're saying too is, could it be that you also mean, so before it might have been like creating for the purpose of creating it for somebody, but somehow now you're creating independently, or you're not dependent on if it's for somebody, but you're creating it through you, for you, independent of that. So
not necessarily for me, but just being creative, just for creative sake, which is, it seems a bit sort of pointless, or maybe to some people, or you know, not needed, not desired, but it fills me with the warmth that it just feels right. It feels like it's the way I should be living my life.
It feels like you're in tune, like, and I can I think that's, you know, I that's something that I totally, I guess, you know, agree with, or it doesn't matter whether I agree with it or not, but creativity, you know, it's like our nature. So it's like you're in tune with your nature as a human, as part of the existence of creativity in that sense. So you're tuning into that creativity, and that just feels so good. I love when you said, like, from just being creative for creative sake, you know, and people oftentimes don't value creative time because they might value other things more, or think that other things are more important, like, you know, and not that it's not important, but almost devaluing creativity, whereas actually just creating for the creative sake is almost like a human basic need.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I see it all the time. I mean, I don't ever verbalize it, but people denying their creativity, you know, just they're quite capable of drawing or painting, or you know, doing those sorts of things, but they don't, because they don't see the need, or it's not looked upon as something that's important.
Yes, absolutely. And I do also believe, actually, if the world would see that differently, if more people would sort of wake up to that, the necessity of just being creative for the creative sake, that lots of sort of daily and problems, and I'm doing these, I don't know how you call it, abbreviations,
Yeah.
or quotes, flying quotes, whatever, would almost dissipate, vanish. let's use that word. Lots of problems would vanish, like from health to mental health to all of that, because it's so healing. So Stephanie, I'm curious about how was your relationship to creativity like? Yeah, as in your childhood, for example, way earlier in life.
Well, my childhood was just quite difficult, and in fact, I've never been without some sort of difficulties in my life, and because of this, I have used creativity as my voice, my way of expressing myself. I was extremely quiet, shy, withdrawn in my younger years, and it was my way of getting things out, I suppose. You know, it helped me. It was a tool to distract, focus. It really, and I enjoyed it. I loved creating.
What kind of things did you create?
Anything and everything. I mean, I would sew, I would costumes for my siblings. I would make things out of egg boxes and whatever I could get my hands on. But mainly I would constantly send my grandparents, but mainly my nan, love letters and pictures, and I don't think there can be anything more prestigious as my letters and my art hanging on my grandparents' wall, and put it around the mirror, and yeah, that really, because they were the people in my life that, well, my nan, she very much showed me how to love and care for people, and my granddad was the stability that I needed. And why not, tell them that you love them every 5 minutes with a picture.
That's really endearing, really sweet as well. And your face lights up when you talk about it. That's really nice.
Yeah, it was, they were extremely important, because life was so difficult at home. They were like the escape, and I would go to their house and I would fall asleep because I felt safe and loved and secure. And that, I think that started it all off, the writing the notes and drawing the pictures for them, really.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful that you had them, that you had that space to feel safe as well. Yeah.
Sorry, I see that through the years, a lot of nearly all of my art and my creative things have been for other people. So it's like they're, a gift to them. And it's only recently that I realized that, and like a deep feeling that my art needs to be shared with other people. And that's why I'm sort of getting out there and showing it. It very much is for other people.
Yeah. And that's lovely. And I think, like, when we share something, almost it is for the world to view, or to, sometimes if we just create for ourselves, it just stops there. And people have so much from seeing your art and from being in contact with that, and you're changing the world by being an artist. So by sharing that as a gift. I'm curious about that moment for you. What was that moment when you realized that, well, I've been creating art all my life, but now I'm wanting to be more purposeful with it, and actually I need to share it with people?
Well, I'd been unwell for quite a few years, but various things. But there was a time in 2017 where I got Lyme disease and became really unwell, and my granddad actually died that year, and it was just a really difficult time. It really floored me. I was just, really extremely lost, and it was a really, really tough time. and coming out of that, I started to think, well, what actually do I want to do? You know, what actually, it just made me reflect, because it was such a difficult time. And being creative and creating art has been my constant. That has been the thing that has never changed. And it's almost like I realized that that was what I needed to be doing. And that was what fulfills me. That's what, you know, makes my life more enriched. And also coming from a place where I've always been, like, previously really shy and, you know, not even looking people in the eye. I was that shy and aware of people, and it started to bring it out of me, bring the courage started to, I mean, I've done courageous things, you know, and I haven't always been extremely shy. I have, like, bursts over the year, it's over life, you know, over my lifetime, but it started to make me connect with people more and bring it out.
Yeah, and in such a tough year and tough time, and I'm sorry to hear about that. It must have given you lots of strength. Is that what it's given you? Strength and energy for life? Or tell me more about what it actually gave you.
It was more that I'd not realised that I very much gone along with everything, never really had an opinion on anything, just played small, very small. And I actually realised that I am my own person, and I can do what I desire, you know, and that feeling of being unfulfilled because I'm not creating all of the time, or, well, you can't create all of the time, but, you know, being more creative. It just felt right. It just felt that was what I should be doing. And it's almost like it's been nagging me all of my life, and I just suddenly heard it at that moment, you know.
And thank you for sharing that, by the way. What made you, do you think, suddenly hear it right then?
The reflection on, you know, because I was so unwell, and, you know, grief, you know, that does all sorts of things to people. And I didn't see myself as someone for other people at that point. I started to see myself as an individual, you know, with a voice, and started to feel that that was the way I needed to go to express myself, to have an opinion, you know, not necessarily in a brash, you know, bullish way, but just to be more authentic and be me, which I'd never known.
Yes.
Who I was.
Yeah. A really powerful transformation for you in that moment. And I guess, like, how has it changed your relationships? Because when you start to, you know, be in alignment with your voice and with, you know, being more authentic, I'm sure that it has an impact on relationships around you. So how's that been?
Good and bad. I mean, sometimes, you know, people are surprised, you know, that there's a positive element there, and connection with people a bit more. I still find it really difficult, but at the same time, people start to think you're selfish, that you don't do things that you normally would have done, looking after other people and trying to please them all the time. It very much is breaking away from that people pleasing and not being living for other people all of the time.
Yeah. And actually that is what happens on an energetic level. It's like when you are changing, oftentimes subconsciously, and people don't often consciously realize, but subconsciously they don't want you to change if they don't want to change, because they're kind of, on a dynamic of you're changing, which means either they are sort of like tickled to have to change as well, or they don't, and then either way it might make them feel uncomfortable. And so it's like you are helping actually the people to raise their sort of to come out of their shell too, by going out of your shell. And I think it's very courageous move. It is, because it is the disharmony that might happen for a moment, or the people thinking that you're selfish, that it then is a difficult moment to walk through, but overall it becomes better afterwards when they have had their little moment. and you're stronger, you're more you're taking all the parts of you, and you are standing with them by doing that, rather than releasing them back to the power of the people.
Absolutely. And actually creativity, art is my strength, so I think we need to try and use our strengths, use the things that come naturally to us to help us along the way. I've always sort of felt lost, but I had that power and that creativity all along.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. It's so, your art really has brought you closer to yourself, and has given you that strength to even to show up in your life more authentically, and then it's also supported you in that times when it might get difficult again, and as life goes up and down. But yeah, it's really great to hear your story there. What kind of tell me a little bit more about your artwork itself. Like, what do you paint, and what goes in it?
I do a mixture of abstract work and surrealist type stuff with sort of a bit of a conceptual angle to it. So sorry. Yeah, it's I describe it as being based on the human condition, and I know that sounds quite broad, but I think life is like ever changing. That we're always discovering new things on our individual journeys, and I just use my emotions and my thoughts, and now having opinions through my art as well. Like a few painters I have that feature the environment, our world, not in a representative way, but in a surrealist sort of way.
Yes, we had a conversation about one of your paintings, which is behind you as well, with the cups. And what else do you have? I mean, tell me more about that as well. And here, but you've got more standing behind you, haven't you? There's more.
Yeah. It's mainly about our impact on the environment and our world. So we're sort of very much the consumers, and we have our fill on them, then that's it. You know, we don't, myself included, we don't always consider the consequences of how we live, and you know what choices we make. And I suppose it could be interpreted, you know, in different ways, but it's being more mindful about myself as a person and others. You know, I try to observe others and, you know, let that come out through my artwork.
Yeah, no, it's lovely, and everyone, you know, have a look at Stephanie's artwork. There's another piece that really jumps to me, actually two. Don't know if you would like to share a bit more about that. One is you have a few trees, like, so there's like, it might be, in my eyes, it might be the sea, but on an angle. And then you have the trees going up into the sky, and also on the other side there's faces, and then a water bottle.
Oh yeah, peaceful slumber.
Oh yeah, is that what it's called?
That's also about our impact on the environment. It's quite surprising actually, because the faces, the shape of the faces came from a pattern on my duvet cover.
Really?
That's where I got the peaceful slumber from, but the people have their eyes closed, so it's sort of representing their eyes being closed to their environment, and the trees and the people together in the sort of leaf, sort of feather shape that sort of represents nature in an abstract way. And it sort of is like blood dripping down, although it doesn't all grab you sort of straight away, and you can sort of notice it, but
yeah,
it's just us being oblivious to our surroundings.
Yeah, and I think it's powerful. So it's an important subject as well, and yeah, I love the way how you're creating that imagery. What do you feel is needed in order to be more conscious about the environment?
I don't have the answers, but you know, I recycle, you know, try and use things, make things. I mean, my workbench in my studio is an old fire door, that sort of thing. You know, it doesn't have to be on a huge scale. I think if we all do little bits and try and make use of what we have, and it could sort of lead up to a big thing.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you feel, just because of the slumber part, what do you feel might be in your eyes sort of like the reason why people close their eyes to it? What state they're in?
I mean, life is difficult for most people, and even if it isn't, it's people don't have the answers, so we do sort of ignore it in a way. I mean, I have no idea what happens once my rubbish leaves the curbside. You know, I can look up online and watch videos, and you know, I can see a really curated view of what happens to it, but you hear of it all of the time being shipped over to poorer countries and that sort of thing. And you know, as I say, we don't have the answers, but what can we do? It's just being more aware personally, and making small choices that might make a difference.
Absolutely. Yes. And it reminds me just of, you know, how, and it's what you mentioned, it's like, you know, we all, you know, can do more, we all can be more conscious, we all can be more aware of our actions. I think it just kind of reflects as well the actions that we sometimes take, whether that's now for the environment or in our relationships or in our own lives, about, you know, sometimes being very short-sighted, just using using things but not knowing what, using things or people or you know, anything, money, but not looking at the actual repercussions of that, and maybe not caring about it, not that they don't care, but don't think to care about it, almost like don't take the time to care about it, because it's comfort as well. It's like, you know, being in this bubble of, you know, this is all I see, this is all I need, I don't want to know more. I think there's can be a lot of times people don't want to know more, because if they do know more, then perhaps the actions would be different. But almost like not being accountable, or not wanting to be accountable, almost like closing the eyes rather than taking responsibility for things that actually impact the whole world. You know, because all of that littering and stuff and recycling, it does impact the whole world, and it creates an imbalance, and we're all part of it. And then, you know, but closing the eyes to it and blaming another person, or blaming the, you know, it's happens a lot, but doesn't help us out. I think there's, almost a disconnection to, there can be, not that it's for everyone, but there can be a disconnection to own actions, are disconnected to the repercussions that it has on the world, that then comes back to them. I hope, I don't know, that's explained a little bit abstract as well, but
Yeah.
hope that makes sense. And and I think opening those eyes to that, like what we're using, what we're consuming, what we're buying, where does that actually, where is it, how is it created, how is it produced, where does it come from, is so important to ask ourselves, especially nowadays. I mean, for a long time, but it is so important. Also, what do our actions actually do? Like, you know, the way that we behave with people, whether we're short-tempered or whether we are, you know, allowing people to walk over us all of the time. What are the repercussions, not just in our immediate life, but more widespread, because it does come back. Like if you talk energetically now, it coming back to us on that sort of sense, but also if it comes back to us in just the ripple effect of, you know, being short-tempered to somebody, and that they are short-tempered to somebody, and, you know, it's just we're all connected, and the more we can open our eyes. And so that's why I find it really powerful. The more we can be aware of that slumber, the more we are aware of the need to open our eyes to it, because none of us are not responsible or accountable for something in the world. And I know that we as humans love to separate ourselves from everything. I was like, I don't have anything to do with that kind of thing. But well, drifting off to something something that we could open in a different conversation as well. But yeah, it inspired me, your artwork inspired me to talk about this, so it's great. Thank you. Right, so yes, and tell me a little bit more about, you know, how people, I mean, you know, you're working on your website, you have your social media, but you also, people can also buy your art, is that right?
Yeah, at the moment they would have to contact me by email, you know, to discuss, but I plan to have everything on my website, and just click and that will be easy to buy. But yeah, I'm just building up. It's not easy. It's not an easy thing for me, or the websites and social media and things. It's difficult. So I'm not very technically minded. So
yeah, wanting to, being an artist, but then, or being, if we are an entrepreneur of any kind, then all of a sudden we have all these things that we need to learn as well. Okay, so I get that. But yeah, so it's everything is underneath the podcast anyway, all your socials and stuff. So you can find Stephanie and get in touch with her if you want to, view her art, buy her art. I could just recommend. Obviously, before we go, I'm just also, mindful of, there might be other people listening right now who do also feel perhaps, feel like they are not connected to their voice, or not, or feeling that there could be, that they might need more courage, or that they are fearful of showing up, or maybe holding back from engaging with their creativity. I wonder what would be some words of wisdom, or some words that you feel you would like to share with them to help them.
Well, I can't say I find it. I don't know. People say it gets easier. I mean, looking back now, I definitely have a neurodivergent traits, and that way, and social interaction can be extremely taxing. So that adds another layer of difficulty. But I focus on my art. That's the positive thing. That the creativity is, as I said before, is the consistent thing, the constant in my life, and that's where I feel most confident. Because I'm not a confident person at all. I am very much, a self-doubter, which I can imagine a lot of people identify with. But that is one thing that it fills me with joy, and it gives me that courage and that stability. So I would say just to focus on what the positive, focus on the positives, but focus on your strengths. And I mess up all the time, speaking, and I'm not used to speaking to people really. It doesn't come easily to me, but the artwork does, and I feel that it should be seen. I try, and that's like center stage, and I'm just the stagehand. Focus on the positive, focus on the things you can do, like the environmental issues. That I can't do very much, but I can put a piece of artwork out there that makes people think about it. Maybe that does something, maybe it doesn't, but just focusing on the things I can do.
Wonderful. Yes. And sometimes the answers really are more simple than we make them, right? Because they're right there. So doing what you enjoy, doing what comes natural for you, using your strengths. That's some great advice. So thank you for that. I'm sure that can empower people a lot to also do that, because we often look so far away from us, and it's mainly right there already, something that you might already be doing and enjoying. Well, Stephanie, thank you so much for this conversation. I think we can always find more things to talk about, because it's always enjoyable to speak with you, and lots of wonderful, valuable things coming out of our conversation. So, there might be another time. But for now, I just want to thank you for coming and for sharing what you shared with us today.
Thank you for having me.
My absolute pleasure. So yeah, everyone, you can find all the links for Stephanie under this podcast, and wish you a wonderful day, and speak to you soon.
And to you. Bye now.
Bye.